It was 3:12 a.m. when an alarm blared through the silence of the basement parking level. I was the lone security guard in the mall, and the sound sent a chill down my spine. Motion sensors rarely triggered unless something significant moved, so I grabbed my flashlight and steeled myself for what lay ahead. Dismissing my apprehensions, I reassured myself it was likely just a malfunction, or perhaps a stray cat. As the service elevator doors opened, darkness enveloped me, the flickering lights casting eerie shadows between parked cars. Suddenly, a car door slammed behind me, echoing in the stillness. My heart raced. My radio crackled to life. "Don't turn around," it whispered in my voice, although my lips had never moved. Cautiously, I glanced at the reflection in a nearby window, and there it was, a tall figure, perfectly still. But when I turned to confront it, nothing was there. The air thickened with dread. I was not alone.
The alarm screamed through the silence at exactly 3:12 a.m. It was coming from the basement parking level of the mall, a place that should have been completely dead. See, I was the night guard and I knew the building had been locked down for hours. The motion sensors down there were calibrated not to go off for small things, so a stray cat or a rat wouldn't trigger them. It had to be something big. I grabbed my heavy-duty flashlight, the beam cutting a nervous path in front of me as I headed for the service elevator. I kept telling myself it was probably just a faulty sensor, a power surge, something logical, but a cold knot was already tightening in my stomach. The elevator doors slid open with a low groan, and a wave of unusually cold air hit me. The basement was darker than it should have been. It looked like half the emergency lights had simultaneously burned out, casting long, distorted shadows that danced between the parked cars. The silence was heavy, thick, broken only by the distant hum of the ventilation system. I started my patrol, my footsteps echoing unnervingly in the vast concrete space. The beam of my flashlight swept across rows of empty, silent vehicles. Everything seemed normal, just as still. That's when I heard it. A distinct, sharp sound from somewhere deep in the garage behind me. A car door slamming shut. My heart hammered against my ribs. Every vehicle on this level was supposed to be empty and locked. I froze, straining to hear anything else, but there was only silence again. I raised my radio to call it in, to report a possible intruder, but before I could press the button, it crackled to life on its own. A voice came through, distorted and static-filled, but I recognized it instantly. It was my own voice. It whispered a single, chilling phrase, "Don't turn around." I stood there, paralyzed. My thumb hovered over the transmit button, but I couldn't move. My own voice, it was impossible. My mind raced, trying to find a rational explanation, a prank, a crossed signal, anything. But the feeling of being watched was overwhelming, a physical pressure on the back of my neck, against every instinct, against the explicit warning from my own voice on the radio. My eyes drifted to the side, catching my reflection in the polished window of a black SUV, and my blood ran cold. In the reflection, I wasn't alone. A figure stood directly behind me. It was tall, unnaturally still, a solid black shape against the dim light. It had no features, no face, just a void in the shape of a person. I could feel its presence, a suffocating cold that had nothing to do with the air temperature. My breath hitched in my throat. I couldn't scream. I couldn't move. I just stared at the reflection, at the thing standing so close I should have been able to feel its breath. Finally, a surge of adrenaline broke the paralysis. I spun around, flashlight held out like a weapon. Nothing. There was absolutely nothing there. The space behind me was empty. My heart was a drum solo in the echoing silence. I thought maybe I was losing my mind, that the stress and the late hour were getting to me. I turned back to the car window, needing to prove to myself that it was just a trick of the light. But the reflection was still there. The figure hadn't moved when I turned. And now, in the reflection, it was closer. Its form was leaning forward, almost touching my shoulder. Panic finally took over. The central alarm, the one that had been silent for minutes, suddenly erupted again. But this time, it wasn't just a distant siren. It was blaring from every speaker on the level, a deafening, disorienting wall of sound coming from all directions at once. It felt like the entire building was screaming. I didn't wait for another invitation. I bolted, sprinting back the way I came, my lungs burning. The elevator felt a mile away. I slammed the call button, praying for it to open. The doors slid apart, and I lunged inside, frantically hammering the close door button, but they wouldn't close. They'd start to slide shut, then jolt back open, over and over, as if something was blocking the sensor, something invisible. I stared into the empty space between the doors, knowing, just knowing, that the figure from the reflection was standing right there, holding them open for me. I never saw it with my own eyes, but I felt it. I abandoned the elevator and ran for the emergency stairs, taking them 3 at a time, not stopping until I burst out into the sterile, brightly lit main floor of the mall. I quit that job the next day, so if you ever find yourself alone in an empty place late at night and an alarm goes off, maybe just let it ring, because not every emergency is meant to be answered, and some things in the dark are better left alone. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoy stories that will keep you up at night, make sure to subscribe.